Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great having you on the channel today. We're going to be looking at the tropics, most importantly, our next potential system out here by the Cape Verde Islands. And we'll be watching these tropical waves across Central Africa just line up as we head through the middle part of September. Tremendous tropical wave action entering the Cape Verde area. And something is showing up as a positive signal here into the central and western parts of the Caribbean. Could we actually have a tropical storm trying to form right around September 9th, 10th, and 11th? We'll take a look at this possibility. And we'll be watching the Caribbean, the Gulf, off the southeast coast as well, as some of these systems track across the Atlantic through middle to latter part of September. Let's get into it. So looking at our infrared satellite view here, back through Jamaica, Cayman Islands, you saw some showers and thunderstorms. Also around Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, some flare-ups here. I want to draw your attention. Look at down here. Southeast of Trinidad, Tobago, up towards Barbados. We have a strong tropical wave. Another one behind it here we'll be watching very closely. And as we stretch across the MDR here, look what we got going on. This one just south, but this one getting ready to exit off the African coast. This is going to be our area of concern over the next week or two. All right, so starting off here with the GFS model, and then I'll show you the European model in a couple minutes. So here we go through. We get through Friday here, the 29th. If we take a look at our big old tropical wave. So here it is exiting off the coast as we head through the middle of the weekend. Massive tropical wave. Back across Africa. We're just going to start lining them up here. Just one right after another. This is going to set us up for a very busy September. So all eyes are going to be on this out here because what's left of 99L over here, parts of Central America, if I just back up just slightly here, you can see here it is moving west to Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, just flaring up a few showers and thunder showers. Also around Florida, the Bahamas, maybe some showers and thunderstorms, showers continuing through parts of Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines here. Watching some scattered showers. So those tropical waves will be kind of getting into an area of wind shear, a little bit of dry air as well. So this is the area we're going to be watching. As we go through September 2nd, it's looking much more impressive here. Very strong tropical wave. Also another one getting ready to exit the African coastline here. We do start to see the GFS try to close this off. I'll show you on the European model because the Euro is going crazy with it at this point. But you can see on the GFS, it is flaring up quite a bit. Also more showers and thunder showers moving through the Lesser Antilles here. Another tropical wave moving just south of Jamaica here, so we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, on the GFS, here it is. It's trying to continue to move west-northwest here. However, it does get into a more hostile environment. This does set us up for more huge tropical wave action, though. Let me just back this up. There is an area across the central part of the Caribbean, too, that we're going to be watching out as we head through the middle to latter part of that first week into the second week. You can see how it surges to the north here. Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cayman Islands. You may be in line with this system on September 11th here. Look at this. Another area across the Gulf. And look at off the southeast coast. This area will be flaring up on the southern end of a frontal boundary here. And this big old wave getting ready to exit right around the Cape Verde Islands. And another wave behind it. So things are really going to start to pick up in extreme activity here across the Atlantic. And as we just continue a little bit further here, there is our last frame. You can see that system moving westward towards the Yucatan. This is something we'll keep a very close watch on as we go deeper into September, and we'll be watching the rest of the MDR as well. Let's get right into the Euro. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our European tropical model analysis. Of course, the areas we're going to be watching are out here by the Cape Verde Islands. That little wave that's left of 99L, that's pushing west of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, stretching. I will zoom in momentarily here, so bear with me. This area I'll be taking a closer look at. But here we go. Cape Verde Islands here, southeastward. This is that wave, that big advertised wave. Look at this monster. The European's going pretty far south here. So we'll keep an eye on it. You know, through September 2nd, it's a slow mover. We have plenty of time to watch it, but the European model is developing it here. Also, as we go through Sunday, September 7th, look at the east coast through the Gulf. We're going to have to watch that stalled frontal boundary. Also, a strong tropical wave making it through the Lesser Antilles and south of Jamaica as well. So things are going to get really active here. European model still showing this system pushing west-northwest here, kind of weakening it just slightly. More tropical wave action coming off the coast here. Also a low pressure right around the Cape Verde Islands. Strong tropical wave here into the northwestern Caribbean. That could be pushing towards the Gulf. And look at this big mess in the western Gulf and off the southeast U.S. coast. So we'll have to watch these areas. European model showing major activity pickup here. All right, so zooming in on the Caribbean. So as we head throughout Friday, here is what is left with that 99L system from earlier in the week and last weekend here. It's pushing north, west-northwest here. So provide a few showers, a few more showers to Cayman Islands, Jamaica, but for the most part, it'll be out of here. So Florida, that's where the tropical moisture through the northern Bahamas, that's where it's going to really lie with this old frontal boundary. We do see an area of low pressure trying to form along it. Also, a tropical wave pretty far south here, lining up with Nicaragua. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Might have some low pressure here on the Euro try to take root east of Florida. Whether it becomes tropical, we'll keep an eye on it. Look at this tropical wave southeast of Trinidad and Tobago. That'll start affecting the central and southern Lesser Antilles towards Wednesday, September 3rd here. Also, another strong tropical wave approaching the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and eventually Dominican Republic through the middle to latter part of next week. So watch out. A bigger tropical wave approaches the Lesser Antilles right around September 5th here. So things are really going to start getting extremely active. Trinidad, Tobago up to St. Vincent here, St. Lucia. These areas need to watch out. Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines here, just watch out. Things could really get pretty active as we head through that first and second week of September. You can see on the European model here, look at this. Big tropical wave moving through Jamaica, Cayman Islands here. Lots of beneficial rain, though, with these. I know some of you said you need the rain. Look at that. Right around September 11th, again, moving into the Gulf and Northwest Caribbean. We'll keep an eye on it here. Sea surface temperature analysis. I'm just so shocked that we haven't really seen anything in the Gulf. Look how warm it is. Off the U.S. East Coast, that upwelling from Aaron really did a number on those sea surface temperatures. Southeast of Bermuda, though, that's where it's really warm. Look at Eastern Caribbean through the Western MDR. Extremely toasty into the Northwest Caribbean. But look at out by the Cape Verde area. Very cold due to upwelling. And here into the Western Caribbean. Here we go. So as we stretch through Sunday and Monday, you can see some showers around Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua here, also Dominican Republic and Haiti. But for the most part, the moisture is going to surge as we get later on into the first and especially the second week of September here. Look at this. Not only Honduras, where many areas will approach 120, 150 millimeters, same with southern Belize here, but look at Jamaica. So there's the Central American countries. Here's Cayman Islands. You're kind of in a rain hole right around 40 or 50 millimeters, which is about, a quarter inch on average. But here, look at southeastern parts of Jamaica, upwards of 141 millimeters. That is about 3 to 5 inches. And look at parts of west central part of Dominican Republic here, getting upwards of 136 millimeters. So we're getting up towards those 4-inch amounts. Puerto Rico, you're going to see probably about 1 to 2 inches of rain. And here we go into the Western Caribbean rainfall amounts. Yeah, we get a few showers around Jamaica, the Cayman Islands through the first part of the weekend. Central America as well. Look at Dominican Republic, though. Wow, that's over 115 millimeters of rainfall here. We'll keep an eye on it because things are going to get very active next week and the week after. Look at this. Extreme tropical wave action is likely. And, right around September 11th, that's where the GFS was showing this big area we're going to have to watch for development around Jamaica. So, Yeah, some of these areas could be seeing a major surge. Look at southern Belize here, 100 and close to 200 millimeters. Parts of Jamaica, upwards of 153 millimeters. That's over 4 to 6 inches in some areas. And look at parts of west central part of Dominican Republic, upwards of 273 millimeters, 3 to 4 inches around western parts of Puerto Rico. And here we go to the Eastern Caribbean, our European model, showing that tropical wave moving through the Lesser Antilles. As we stretch through the weekend here into next week, another tropical wave approaches. By next weekend, look at that surge in moisture. Trinidad, Tobago areas, would not be surprised if some of you approach 100 to 120 millimeters up to St. Vincent here. Virgin Islands look a little bit less, 40 to 60 millimeters on average. St. Croix here right around maybe a quarter inch. So there you have it. Moisture times are ahead here. And as we look into the Eastern Caribbean on our GFS run, you can see what's going on here. First tropical wave moves through about 45 to 55 millimeters on average. Nothing more to a quarter to a half an inch. But look at this as we stretch through that first and second week of September. Yeah, we're really going to increase the moisture here. Even parts of the central and northern Lesser Antilles, upwards, some of these areas in these eastern facing areas, coastlines could get upwards of 150 millimeters. Trinidad, Tobago down here, 90 to as much as 125 millimeters in some of these areas. So for the rest of August here, very tail end, we're still seeing on the CanSIPS model, very moist in these areas, western MDR through the Caribbean. It's a toss-up at this point because August is so close to being done here. So let's progress it to September. So here we go. Didn't look like it changed much. So here we go for September. Cape Verde season really lights up. Caribbean and much of the western and north central eastern Gulf here as well off the southeast coast. So pretty much the similar areas. I do think the Caribbean will really start to heat up here, as well as the MDR out here by the Cape Verde Islands as well. So looking at our future radar here, you can see what's going to be pinwheeling from northeast Ohio across upstate New York here, Pennsylvania. Showers and thunderstorm action from Cleveland on eastward here as we head through the early morning hours of Friday, the eve here of Labor Day weekend, a 3-day weekend for many. Look at the activity, the convection down south here from northeast Texas all the way across Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and Alabama. We're going to be watching this. And look at this, low pressure pulling off the coast. This is, as we continue through 11 a.m. on Friday, you can see this coastal low heading way out over. Now let's continue here on our 18Z model run. You can see as we look at this pushing out to sea, look at that. So we do get some spin up of showers and thunderstorms across eastern parts of New England on Friday. Watch out. Some of these could be a little on the strong side. Yeah, look at that kicking up as we head through 10 p.m. So watch out. Eastern New England, maybe a few showers lingering back across the lakes here. But for the most part, it should eke out a pretty nice day. Look at the Gulf Coast region, though. I am very concerned. Areas from eastern Texas all the way to the panhandle of Florida, even southern Georgia here, and getting into extreme southern South Carolina. Heavy tropical downpours. Thunderstorm outlook, it's only looking like a marginal risk out here in the west central plains, southeast Texas through southwestern Louisiana here. This up here in New England is just generalized thunderstorms into your Friday. And here into Saturday, more just generalized thunderstorms, no severe. And picking up where our future radar left off on our GFS run, take a look at this. So as we stretch on into the weekend, you can see where the problems are going to be. Off the southeast coast here, Texas, look at this slug of moisture as we stretch on into the 31st. So we're getting on into Sunday afternoon here, 2 p.m. Look at this. Yeah, high pressure across the northeast here, Ohio Valley. I must say, it is going to be a beautiful Labor Day weekend up here. So if you have outdoor plans, get out there and enjoy it. It's really nice. Look at the Gulf Coast just socked in with rain. Showers and thunderstorms continuing across the central parts of the plains here. And big slugs of moisture off the North Carolina coast. I must say, the Outer Banks is going to be really close for you. I think you'll see a lot of cloudiness. But whether you really get that moisture, it's looking like it's going to pass further to the east of you. So that is some great news as we head on into even Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Look at this, the 3rd into the 4th. We do start to see the moisture start to congeal here from the Atlantic and the Gulf into an area of low pressure. You do really start to see that by September 4th here. GFS showing a little bit of a coastal low hinting here with a secondary low holding backwards across Quebec. It does start to intensify as we get more towards the 5th here into northern New England. So we'll keep an eye on it here. That's that same system I was showing you last video update that was bombing a massive coastal low along the coast. Look at some nice high pressure kicks in behind it here. Through the 6th into the 7th, you can see this massive high pressure system. You can get some pretty big highs this time of year. But look at this. This system tries to run up and over it. It has very little success as it's trying to push eastward into northwestern Ohio. So picking up where our feature radar left off on our European run as we head on into Saturday, you can see this low pressure moving up through parts of northern New England here. Southeast, we're looking at showers and thunderstorms continuing here, very active through Texas as well. We're just going to continue that pattern. I know the flood threat's running pretty high here. This is an interesting area of low pressure. I did mention this in the tropics as well. So far, it looks like it's just traveling along the stalled old frontal boundary, but look at this high pressure just continuing to give much of the east a very beautiful Labor Day weekend. That is much needed. Enjoy. Look at this low pressure just hanging out across Florida. A lot of rainfall, especially the northern Bahamas into South Florida. We'll get into those rainfall amounts momentarily. But look at this. Finally, by September 3rd, we start to see this massive trough congeal. This is quite a big gusty system, more reminiscent of fall here. Very sharp cold front. This is going to bring, look at this, 989 millibars? This is some pretty craziness here. Sharp cold front moving through eastern Ohio. Look at these cells. Watch out. We could have severe weather. So we head towards September 5th into the 6th. But here we go. You can see the East Coast, showers and thunderstorms lining up through the 6th, the 7th. Tremendous tropical moisture continuing across Florida. This high really does build all the way down into Texas, Louisiana. So things are starting to look a little more fall-like here. You see this tropical moisture just sitting off the coast here. We'll have to watch it try to ride north. But I'm not seeing that, at least on this run, I'm not seeing that massive coastal system. It looks more open wave-ish as we head through the 1st and 2nd week of September here. So I'll keep a close watch on it. Look at this. This is another cold front. Cold front making it all the way down into South Texas this time of year. That is crazy. And our rainfall amounts here on the European run, yeah, down in through parts of the deep south here, that's where the rainfall is going to be most prevalent. Only about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch up here in parts of the eastern lakes and New England. Some isolated areas up to an inch. So here we go. Look at most of the rain staying off the Carolina coastline here. That's some good news. So stretching all the way through September 4th. And look at this. Yeah, it's really going to light up with moisture across the Gulf Coast here. Texas, parts of Texas, 5, 7, 8 inches here, stretching through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Look at South Florida here. That's some good news for you. 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 inches. You definitely need the rain. Look at how quickly it piles up offshore, though. And then up to parts of the Northeast, we get a little bit wetter. Also up in here, parts of the Midwest. Some of these systems may drop up to 6 inches. All right, so the GFS run here, precipitation is looking very active here across Texas and the Gulf Coast, East Coast as well as we stretch into that first week of September. Even getting some rain around Ohio here, especially southern and central Ohio, up to an inch. We'll see if that holds true. Help break the drought a little bit, but look at Texas here. Many areas, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. Look at parts of Florida here, upwards of 7, maybe as high as 8 inches in some of these areas. And up the East Coast as well. We'll have to keep an eye on this. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to respond and read all your questions or comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, bell notification button. I'm literally closing in with just a few more to hit 20,000 subscribers. Let's continue with more weather coverage. And our upper air pattern here on our Euro, yeah, it's a East Coast trough here. Look at this. Through the 30th, 31st, you can see this troughiness just continuing, ridging out west here. Look at that. That's a death ridge. Tremendous heat and dryness. It's so strange because you would think with this trough over Labor Day weekend that it would be stormy, but much of, especially the Midwest up in especially the Northeast, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic's looking really nice, so enjoy it. You're going to get that nice cooler temperatures along with it. Look at this, though. That's that massive storm, September 5th. It looks like that low, that coastal low that was supposed to come up September 5th is actually coming up this way. Does that kind of remind you of wintertime where the lows keep flipping further westward here? Well, that's kind of what we're looking at here with this scenario Tuesday into Wednesday. September 10th, we do start to see a ridge building back across the east. So that's kind of a sign we might see a little bit of return to summer type weather here. Our NAO index is looking like this, pretty neutral as we stretch through the mid to later half of September. And here we go for our MJO index. Yeah, we're just kind of meandering. We start off here around 2 to 3, and we pretty much end right around 2 or 3. So we're kind of neutral, a little bit on the quieter side. All right, so taking a look at the Western Pacific here, we are looking at our next potential system, Tropical Depression 20, likely a tropical storm as it approaches northern Vietnam and South China. So this will be impacting these areas over the next couple days. Looks like landfall point is right around August 30th here as we stretch on into Saturday. Look how clear it is up here towards Seoul, South Korea, Osaka, Tokyo, Kyoto, Hiroshima. All these areas are looking pretty clear. So, not until about the 31st, we do start to see some showers here in the southern Japanese islands. Seoul, you do start to get rain right around the 31st. Down here in the Philippines, we're watching, big old mess down here. Look at this. Another area of low pressure trying to form. We'll keep an eye on this because this may be the next tropical system behind it trying to form into something here. Japan, we do start to see a big old slug of moisture right around September 3rd here. So, and then these areas over by South China filling in with another synoptic system. But we get this low pressure we'll have to keep an eye on. This just hanging out southeast of Japan as we head through the 5th and the 6th. So, got to keep an eye on this moisture. Some of this can spin up into a typhoon this time of year. But so far, it looks pretty disorganized. Until about September 8th, we do see a system trying to develop here north of the Philippines towards Taiwan. Here's the last frame showing it bearing down on Taiwan. Looks like a decent-sized tropical storm at this point. But look at the slug of moisture moving northward across the southern Japanese islands. And for the Western Pacific, rainfall amounts, yeah, with those tropical systems, northern Vietnam, you'll be picking up 200 to 400 millimeters. Look at most of Japan except the southern Japanese islands. You're mostly dry. Seoul as well, right around 45 millimeters. But as we go through the first and second week of September, look at this. These tropical systems start to target Japan a lot more. Northern Philippines, South China here as well. So we'll keep an eye on it here all the way through the second week of September. Look at Seoul, South Korea. You're really starting to pick up more of a monsoon here, upwards of 200, 250 millimeters. Also, central and southern Japan, right around 150 to 200 millimeters. All right, so Canada. Yeah, it's looking pretty dry here. Unless you live in southeast Canada here. Look at Quebec. Got this low pressure winding up through Friday into Saturday here. New Brunswick, some showers moving through Nova Scotia on Sunday morning. Newfoundland here, some tropical moisture just around St. John's here. Next system dropping down across Manitoba here, the northern prairies. Another one providing some beneficial rain for the wildfires around Alberta. British Columbia, you're dry, so extremely dry, clear as a bell here. So this high pressure is going to be very bad for the wildfire situation. I hate to say it, but there's that cold front moving south and east. That's the only thing I can say is it'll be cooler up here, but that's still not going to absolve you from the wildfire situation, unfortunately. Now, as we head through September 3rd and 4th, look what's forming here. We have a couple areas of surging tropical moisture just off Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, a big area of low pressure moving through eastern Ontario, western Quebec. And we do start to see an area of low pressure surge along it right around September 4th or 5th. This is that one that was showing up on the Euro. It's a bit further east and a little weaker on the GFS here. Southern Quebec into New Brunswick here, you can see heavier showers and thunderstorms. But if I just zoom out across all of Canada here, look at this. You can see where the massive ridge is. It's way over here, and then the trough just continuing. Look at this. Massive low pressure moving through Quebec right around September 6th, and the Canadian Maritimes just bombing up there. Way up into the Davis Strait up here. Look at this. Crazy. High pressure building in behind it, so you do get some dry weather, some late summer dry weather. But look at this. These systems are getting pretty strong for this time of year. Another gusty system moving up across central and northern Ontario up towards Hudson Bay. And we will start to see a Pacific system project inward here, northwestern area of British Columbia. So for our Canadian rainfall totals, yeah, it's going to be hard-pressed to find any until we get into the first full week of September. Look at Western Ontario here, upwards of 100 to 150 millimeters here. That's some hefty rain. Parts of southern Quebec as well, upwards of 60 to 90. Parts of Newfoundland here, southeastern Newfoundland, getting clipped by some of these tropical moisture systems. But look at out here. This is not good for the wildfires. Look at most of British Columbia out of the moisture, so to speak. So yeah, it's in eastern Canada where the trough is setting up. Looking at our temperatures here, yeah, it's going to be the tale of two worlds here. Look at Friday, August 29th. Look at these 60s up here in upstate New York, northeast Ohio. Even Cleveland will not make it to 70 tomorrow. 65 up to Rochester, 64. Cold pool of air up here, 70s throughout the Ohio Valley into the northeast. And look at 80s even down and through parts of the south. Parts of the Gulf Coast suppressing those 90s. Look at Texas, though, and the west just baking here. So as we get into the weekend, Labor Day weekend, what's it looking like? Well, a little cool up here in northern New England, some 60s and some 70s. But look at this. We start to see a warming trend, 80s throughout the Mississippi River Valley as we stretch into Sunday. Very temperate. Look at all these wonderful 70s out here and 80s along pretty much the entire Gulf Coast. That is signifying that we are seeing that cool down back east here and that big massive ridge out west just baking everything. Tuesday, September 2nd, yeah, we're still looking like plenty of 70s and lots of nice 80s throughout the south here as well. As we head into Wednesday, September 3rd, look at this. This is the start of another cool front that could be pushing east. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Upper Susquehanna River Valley, New York and Pennsylvania, from Binghamton to Scranton. Look at this. Yeah, Friday, partly sunny skies. We might not actually make it to 70 tomorrow. It's like a cool fall, almost feeling like an early fall day in the upper 60s. Might see a shower or two. But for the most part, as we head on into Friday night, early Saturday morning, we could see some lows into the upper 30s in those normally colder valleys. Saturday, we will warm up to about 70 into Sunday. The mid 70s Labor Day, near 80 into Tuesday as well. So beautiful, sunny skies, not a cloud. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.